Welcome to the first lesson in the second fetter. And the second fetter is about doubt. And doubt is really, really difficult to talk about. For for some people, when they see through self and the illusion of a self is falling and there's no longer anybody identifying and they are aware that whatever thought they get, it's not truth. It's just a thought, and they're not identifying with the thought, and a thought can happen and disappear, and there's no had attaching anything onto it. It's just a thought happening. So there's no identifying anymore, and they're completely aware that identifying with a thought is completely delusional. There's not an I anywhere that is separate or individual. It's just thoughts forming, just like smells are forming and hearing is forming, and that's it, and then everything just falls away. For some people it's like that. For other people, there is an underlying belief that one is not aware of, um, and that underlying belief is the stick in the wheel for everything. So if you have doubt about anything, no matter what you're doubting in life, it's because that there's this underlying belief that is creating a distance from what you feel is the direction and what you would like to do, and then you get a doubt. um, Doubt is always because of an underlying belief, and it's difficult to unravel doubt because it's mind created. It's something that is created by your mind. It's something that has a foundation in the past, in whatever conditioning you have, whatever you believe to be true, whatever you believe is real, and how you perceive things. Um, and the doubt needs to be verified by you, and you're the one creating, the doubt. So dissolving doubt is difficult. Doubt can't be solved. You cannot solve doubt. You can only dissolve doubt. And the dissolving only happens when you find calm. When you find into that space where there's no longer a hatching on or an identifying or an explaining or anything about the underlying belief, but there's just a pure being. And every single lesson that you're going to hear in this entire fetter is going to be about that, because it's the only thing there is when we talk about doubt. So you can have like two different types of doubt. You can have the skeptical doubt, or you can have the internal doubt. Um, doesn't really matter. Doesn't really matter if you're super super cerebral and you need to understand everything and need to have everything in small neat boxes. That is what is normally called a skeptical doubt. Um, I'm one of those. I like things, in small neat boxes, and I like to understand things, and it needs to be logical, and all that. So I completely relate to that. In those two, that is the one that I recognize the most. The other one is the internal doubt, and that's where you have a foundational belief about reality. You create a conviction at some point where that was the only thing that made sense. So it might be that you have a feeling of not being good enough, or you have a feeling of low self-worth, low self-esteem, um, imposter syndrome, fear. It can be so many different things that doubt is about. But for both of them, both the skeptical doubt and the internal doubt, um, the solution is the same. The solution is the same. It's about finding the joy of experiencing. And I know when I say that, if you have issue with about doubt, and I'm talking about the joy of experience, and you're gonna go seriously. but but it is the only way that you actually can snap out of it. Because if you sit with a sensation of doubt, you are delusional. You are delusional. You have a deep seated belief that you're not even aware of. You're not even aware of it. And yet, it dictates everything in your life. It's completely delusional. And you might even, you know, fight for that to be true, even though that you know it makes absolutely no sense, but you still fight for it because you're delusional. You're delusional. And the only way you can snap out of that delusion is by checking in on the joy of experiencing. And the joy of experiencing is something which is happening all the time. It's not something that you um, um, walk in and out of. It's there all the time. It's just about whether you're aware or not. So the joy of experiencing is whatever you're experiencing right now, you take that as an experience. So you hold no opinion towards it. It's not a good thing or a bad thing. It's not a right thing or a wrong thing. It's just happening. And if you just had been, came directly from Mars, you were not a human, and you got into this physical body and you had this sensation of being in this body, um, whatever you were experiencing, you would be experiencing for the first time. And that would be curious, that would be exciting and interesting and mystical, and you can do that. You can tap into that. That is the joy of experiencing. That is, no matter what you experience, there is an experience in it that you can be curious towards, that you can feel into the sensation about. So it's not thinking about it at all. It's very much feeling with your body, feeling into how it feels to experience this right now. If your mind starts to think about it and starts to have opinions about it, then instead of jumping on that bandwagon, then look at the thoughts and be curious towards that. So you have the joy of experiencing those thoughts, which means, again, you're just an anthropologist that is looking at what is happening in this being right now. What is happening with the thoughts? What is happening with the senses? What is happening in the feeling body? What is happening? So you're completely, you are an anthropologist that is just observing what is happening. There's no attachment to anything going in either direction. It's just that pure joy of experiencing, no matter what it is. Which also means that no matter what you experience is great. Root canal, amazing. Now I'm going to have full awareness when I'm getting it. Warm bath, great. Now I'm going to have a full awareness when I'm experiencing it. So you're completely removing yourself from any assumption of what it could be, or what it used to be, or what it should be. And instead you're just in that space of enjoying what actually is. Another thing that can help you is if you start to become aware that it's like there's a crossroad, right? That you have a sensation that is coming up in you. Let's say that you have social anxiety and somebody is inviting you to do something, and immediately you feel that doubt about, oh, is that a good idea? Is it better if I don't do that? And maybe I shouldn't do that. And all that back and forth starts to happen. Where you're at right there are like two roads. So you need to discover the sensation and the experience before it turns into something. And what you do is that you stay in the spot where you're at, and then it's like one direction. You can be with the experience and be with the sensations and be with everything that comes up in you, the thoughts, everything that is there, and you just meet it with unconditional acceptance. Can I be in a body where I have this sensation of unevenness, of concern? Can I be in a body where that is where that is happening? Can I be in a body where I jolt into the future and create the worst case scenarios that I then start to be concerned about? Can I be in a body where that happens? Can I have love and compassion towards the part of me that throughout my life have experienced so many different kind of rejections and hardship and all of that? Can I be in a body where that is happening, where that is part of the story and part of what is shaping my idea of the now? Can I be in a body where that is happening? That is the one direction. The other direction is doubt. That's it. And that direction is almost like being paralyzed, because there's no moving forward. You can't move forward in where you're at with the sensation of doubt that you have. You can't move forward, and you most definitely cannot go back. So you're kind of like paralyzed. You know, you're in that limbo where there's no presence whatsoever. You're not present at all. You're avoiding what you believe to be the presence. But the presence is not what you are fearful about and scared about and all of that. So if you can kind of like back up and get to the point and to the spot where you can choose the other direction, where no matter what comes up, you own it. You own it. You have that. It's really, really uncomfortable being here where I am right now. Can I be in a body where it's this uncomfortable? And that's a yes or no thing. Yes, I actually can. I can be in a body where it's this uncomfortable. Or, no, I can't be in a body where it's this uncomfortable. Okay. Can I accept that I can't be in my body right now? And then you create acceptance to what you can't accept. And by doing that, you meet yourself in a way that you've never been met before. You meet yourself with compassion in a way that you never have ever experienced compassion before. And with love in a way that you never experienced love before. That unconditional, no matter what you bring to the table, I'm here. You know, I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying here. That unconditional love and compassion is what you need, because otherwise you will never ever find the underlying belief that is creating all this doubt in you. You need to be somebody you can trust. And you can't trust the person that goes like, oh, are you serious? That's not anything. Or why are you doing about that? And you know, being on your case for whatever is the emotion that you experience. You wouldn't trust a person like that. So don't be that. Don't be that person. You know, don't be that person. Be the person that you would go to with this issue that is so big, that is like a stick in a wheel for everything. That no matter what you experience, there's always that pulling back from it because of doubt, because you're doubting. And even if you're in the spot where you have no idea, but what is it I'm doubting? I don't know what the underlying belief is. I have no idea what it's about. I just feel doubt about everything all the time. Then be the person, you know, that you can say that to. Be the person that accepts that you've no idea what the underlying belief is. Because it is selfing happening. In doubt, it's always selfing happening. You're placing the selfing in the middle as the most important, you know, player in the game, as the most significant person at all. It's the selfing. And it's what the selfing believes about the situation. That is the most important thing. That is completely delusional. The selfing is never, ever present. Ever. The selfing is always about the future, concerns about the future, or regrets about the past. Always. It's never, ever, ever present. Which means that when you feel doubt, you're not here. You're not here. You're locked into an old belief that is no longer relevant or useful in any way. And then you're trying to fit into the box from when that belief was created, you know? So it's very, very important to remember that you cannot solve doubt. It's not possible. It's not possible. There's nothing to solve or to resolve. It's not possible. Because part of the doubt is the selfing, that is the skeptical, um, stick in the wheel. And there's no solving that. It can only be dissolved. And it only can be dissolved when you create space, first of all, for it to be as it is, you being doubtful, own that. And second of all, creating space for you having an underlying belief that is completely delusional, that is so ego based and selfing, that it's not, has nothing to do with reality as it is at all. And by just leaving it, and I'm not talking about head in the sand. I know that it might be how you hear it when I'm saying just leave it. You might hear that I'm saying, head in the sand and just, pretending that it's not real and it doesn't happen and it's not there, and not what I'm talking about. Not what I'm talking about. By leaving it, I mean that you, just like you have a child that is really, really sad, instead of being the one that goes like, okay, wipe your nose, done, enough, you cried it long enough now, go out and play. Instead of being that person, you can be the person that is there, creating space and love and compassion, and are in no rush at all for this to end or for anything to be any different than what it is right now. You can only have the insights that you need when you create space to what is. And when that is happening, when you're creating that space to what is, then I would like for you to start to notice body sensations. Because while you have been so busy living your life in your head, completely disconnected from the body, completely disconnected from all the signs that your body is giving you all the time, while you've been busy up there, a lot of things have been happening down here. And in your body, you have very, very clear signals and signs to whether you should go down that dark alley, whether you should, turn your phone on at 2 o'clock at night when you wake up, to, all the things. You have very, very clear body sensations. And that is what I call a body yes and a body no. And I know that the first time if you have a lot of doubt, then the first time you hear about the body yes, body no, it's just like, what is she on about? You can talk yourself into a body yes or body no any day. And I completely believe that. And I know. Beyond that, way, way, way beyond that, when you really create space and sit with silence, you have a very clear signal from your body that is letting you know if it's a body yes or body no. And I'm not talking about the part of you that persuades yourself into one thing or the other. In another lesson, I'm going to talk about wants and needs and the difference between that. And it is also tied into the body yes, body no. It is tied into that. But I'm not going to go into that today. I just want you to start to become aware that whenever something is happening, you have a very, very clear signal, and it is measurable. I mean, if we put you up, to electrodes on your head and watching your pupils dilate and measuring how much you're perspiring in your hands and measuring your heartbeat and your heart and your breath rate, you have very, very clear signs to whether you want to do something or you don't want to do something. So the body yes, body no, it is something that is physiologically happening. It's not something, woo woo, new age thing I'm sitting and talking about. It is physiology. It's actually happening in your body, the body, yes, body, no. So it's all about you becoming aware of what is already happening. But in order to do that, you need to get your awareness from up here to into your body so you can feel it. Because you can start to develop a sensitivity to your body where you actually can feel that your hands start to perspire, and you can feel, you can see with your vision that your pupils are dilating or contracting, and you can use your senses where your hearing and your smelling becomes clearer, which is normally an indication of a body, yes, something you really, really want. Then your pupils are dilating and you smell and you hear more than when it's a body no and you don't want. Then things kind of like contracts and shut down and go like, no, 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 I don't want to do that. And you have like signals from your muscles where you can feel that your muscles are tensing up or they are relaxing. That is also a sign into a body yes or a body no. I'm going to talk more about it later. I just want you now to start to become aware that while you're busy up here about the doubt, about thinking the back and forth, about not sure, not sure, not sure, while you're busy up here, this entire body is giving you so many signals that is completely dissolving any kind of doubt that you have. If you could just get over yourself and listen, then you would know the answer. And I promise you, it is a space of no doubt ever. There's no doubt ever about anything, because you have that very, very clear sensation of whether it's a yes or it's a no. Yeah. The last thing I would like to say about this is that when you start to notice, first of all, the belief that you have, the underlying belief that you have that is creating the sensation of doubt. That's the first thing you need to be aware of. If you can't find out what that underlying belief is, and you can't figure out what that's about, then you can kind of like override it, because it's not that important that you do find out what it's about. You will find out later on if it's important. Otherwise, you can kind of like override that by finding calm and finding into that joy of experiencing. So in the moment you are feeling the doubt, in the moment, what is enjoyable about this right now? And it's not an opinion, it's a sensation. So it's about getting out of your head and into your body. And in the joy of experiencing when you're in your body, it's about sensing what is happening. What is the joy of experiencing right now? What is enjoyable about this right now? So you can't have an opinion about it. It's all about sensing the enjoyment and the enjoyable part of it right now. That is the second thing you need to do. The third thing I would like for you to start to become aware of, that's something that I'm going to circle back to a lot of times, and it's the starting point. And I'm going to make a video where I talk solely about the ego and the authentic and finding the starting point. That's later on. What I would like for you to become aware of now is, what is that starting point? What is that underlying belief that you have to anything? So if you are going shopping, what is the starting point in you? The starting point is about a lot of different expectations. It can be a lot of presumptions about yourself, about other people, about the shops, about the weather, about the car. It can be so many different things, but there's always a starting point. We never start from a blank slate. We never start from a blank canvas. There's always a starting point, and that is that underlying sensation of what a situation is. That's the starting point. Now, the starting point can be just with what is, which means that you're super flexible, that no matter what happens in whichever direction, you just go with it. Or a starting point can be toxic. And what a starting point is toxic, that is when you have a very fixed belief or very, very fixed expectation to how you are, how they are, what is supposed to happen, what can't happen. And when that starting point is fixated into another belief, that is a huge foundation for doubt, because nothing ever goes the way that you want. If you have a toxic starting point, let's say in starting a relationship, if you have a toxic starting point, then you have expectations to the other person, you have expectations to um, what they're supposed to do, opening the door, pay the bills, all of those things. That is a toxic starting point, because there's no space for reality to be as it is. There's no space for it to rain on a wedding day, or um yeah, I can't the movies being cancelled, or COVID happening, or that there's no space for reality to happen as reality happens. And that's the toxic starting point. If you are in where you're just aware of the starting point is, then if it's very difficult to become disappointed about anything, because whatever happens is fine. Um, you might have had an expectation about going out grocery shopping, and then the store is closed, and it's like, oh, I expected it to be open, it's not. Okay, and then that's it, sorted. There's not anything else in it. But the starting point is really important to become aware of when you work with doubt, because the majority of things you doubt has a toxic starting point. Really, really be aware of that. So if you can't figure out what the underlying belief in is, then, and you can't find out whether it's about your self-worth, or it's about self-esteem, or the sense of self, or lack of boundaries, or fear, anger, guilt, or shame, you can't find out what the underlying belief is in anything, then sometimes it helps you to look at what is your starting point. What is your assumption about anything when you start out? What do you what value do you place on yourself and on the situation, on the day, on what is going to happen? Because that kind of gives you the angle of where your underlying belief is, what the underlying belief is about. And this is something you need to talk to somebody about. You need a guide, or you need to join a group, or you need to have a group of friends where you work with the Fetter work, where you use the different lessons. So you have somebody to talk about, and start to write down all the things that you have as underlying beliefs. And the underlying beliefs, that is like the things that you are so sure this is how it is. And yet you look out in the world and you see, it's not everybody that has that belief. So start to become aware of that. Yeah. This is lesson 1 and step number 1 in becoming aware of all the hooks that you have into doubt. Yeah. Thank you.